Alright, what's up everyone? So today we are working on our YJ Jeep. It's a 93, and what happened was we were actually cruising through the drive-through and we started to hear like just a little bit of click noise, and we didn't know if it was going to be our wheel bearing or what the noise was coming from. So first thing we did was we actually jacked up our Jeep, and then we looked for any play in our wheel, because that would have kind of told us that it was probably going to be a wheel bearing. But to actually my surprise, it wasn't that. The wheel was really tight, everything was good. So then I started looking at my U-joint, which after all this happened, I started to remember I had replaced one of these on my 95. And we're going to look right in here. So there's your U-joint, you can see it, and you're going to be able to hear me. You can hear the slop. So that's obviously not good. We actually broke our lug nuts loose already when it was on the ground, and then we jacked it up a little bit. So now they should be pretty good. Rotor is pretty shot, I'll tell you that. Which is funny because our pads don't even look bad. So I don't know what happened. I'm guessing this rotor was warped before, and they decided just to throw some fresh pads on there and let her eat. So except we're not doing brakes today. That'll be another time. But I can see what we got going on here. So we got to take off our caliper right here. And then we're going to take off our little clip here, which has got a little safety locking nut or whatever here. And then we're going to be able to zip this actual nut off so we can get our rotor off. So biggest thing with this stuff is use plenty of lubricant, and if it feels still pretty tight, put a little heat on it to hopefully be able to get it off. So looks like the socket size for us was 12 millimeter, and what you're going to want to do is there's two bolts on the back side of your caliper right here. The only reason I'm not really showing you guys right this second is because I don't want to readjust the camera, but they go into your boot and your sleeves and all that, and we should be able to pop these puppies off. Now why would that be? Okay, I guess it's a different size. Golly, and I tell you what, it does not look pretty either. It looks like she is rusted away half of her threads already. So alright, well, we're in this deep. Let's pull this guy off here. And probably hit this with the impact, I assume, and get this off. And we'll go from there. Here's to show you guys how I get the pins out. Usually I'll fold these pieces here that are bent over, and I'll kind of fold them to where they get halfway straight, and then as soon as you can get your needle nose in there, I'll usually take something with a weight, hammer or whatever, and just give her a little tappy tap tap, and she'll come right out. So so you don't have to straighten the whole thing out, you know what I mean? So then this guy comes right off here, and I think this is time where I'm going to start soaking it with some PB Blaster, because not gonna be great. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys, having an impact doing this job is definitely gonna help you out a lot. We did use an impact, and what we did was we just took actually our breaker bar that we had with us here, and we kind of wedged it in here between the yoke on your axle, and we just gave her the business, and she came right off. So if you don't have that and you're using a breaker bar, you can still get it. You'll be alright. But sometimes old impact does a good job. So this was a 36 mil socket that we used. So, and it came off pretty easy. So right now we're heating up this bolt because she's being a pain in the butt already. And we're going to spend a lot of attention on this one here and seeing if heating it up and all that good stuff helps the process at all. So the main part you're going to want to heat is actually on this side here, where you can see the threads from the bolt coming through, because here's what your bolt looks like. So heating this side really isn't going to do much for you, but this is where you want to heat and get it hot. So I put some pretty good amount of heat to it, and with the breaker bar, they did come loose. So the other big thing is make sure you're using a 12-point socket. I wouldn't recommend using like a 6-point or anything like that, because you'll probably have a better chance of actually stripping out your bolt here, which you don't want to do that, because then you're probably going to have to get the welder out, or yeah, you're going to have to get the welder out and probably weld a nut to this and then hope that that gets it off. So don't strip out this bolt. As you can see, we're definitely being very, very generous with the heat, because we do not want to have to break that, we don't want to mess up our bolt. So, here, I'm going to try it by hand first. I doubt we can get it by hand, but actually I felt the gunk. I think we're going to be good. A little cheater pipe on there. Woo! That's it right there. Broke loose. We're going to get this off, and then we're going to see, hopefully our, it doesn't take much to get our wheel bearing out. It's probably still pressed in there maybe a little bit. So, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you take that nut off, because you're going to want to get that off before you start really getting this stuff off, I would think. So, alright. Actually, once you get the bolts off, they don't even really look that bad. But this is a 93, never been touched, so they're dang near almost 30 years old. So you got to give stuff like this some credit for even coming out. All right, so what we did with just some generous hammering, we hit on the inside of this part here and just kind of pulled at it lightly, and we didn't have to swing real hard at it or anything like that, and it came right out. Woo! Yep. Alright, well that's taken care of. Hey, where was this washer at? You guys see that? Okay, cool. Alright. So now, seriously though, who's on this side, right? You guys are paying attention. Right? Oh no. I'm just kidding. It was on this side. Yeah. So, washer on this side. Surprised I didn't even see that thing in there. So, bearing still feels good. That's nice, because I was really hoping that I wasn't going to get this off and it felt bad. So, alright. Not too shabby, guys. Not too bad. Alright, so I used a cutting wheel, which is definitely not the professional way, but what I was able to do was able to cut one side out, and I was able to hammer it out, and then I did the repeated step for this here. Still going with the socket method here at the end, so I'm going to show you guys, hopefully this, and then he's put it on there and give it a good whack. That one is already a little persuaded, so this one will probably take 2 whacks maybe. So, oops, sorry about that. And then it's on there one more time, and you're good to go. So, usually, I'll admit, when I've done my U-joints, they're usually on the drive shaft, so they're usually only like this here, instead of it being a 4-way, as far as usually it bolts in, right? Well, this way here, it's connected in all 4 spots, so I don't know if it was just because it's probably an original U-joint, to be honest. So I don't know if that had something to do with it, why they're hard to get out, why the socket method didn't work right off the bat. But whatever the reason was, we got it to work. So I would think, because when they're in like this, it's hard. You're kind of fighting which direction it goes and all that. So definitely no expert on that. So again, if you're maybe even a little less handier than that, which is, you know, not a big deal, especially if you made it this far, I would say just take the drive shaft to your local place. They're going to charge you maybe 30 bucks, something like that. You can even bring your new ones with you and just have them install it, so then, you know, it's an even easier process and you don't have to deal with all this shenanigans. But if you're not willing to, you know, ready to get at it with a little cutting wheel action, or, you know, Google or YouTube, you know, maybe someone else has got a, you know, I'm sure they got a better way. A press would be the cat's meow for sure. So this is definitely a way of doing it without a press, and I'm sure there's other ways. So I'm not hating on any of that. This is just how we did it, and it works. And it didn't take us long at all either. Alright, so we got it off. Now it's time to get our new ones in. We're going to clean up. That's just a smudge. We don't want to take off, you know, really anything, but a little sandpaper, clean it up, and we're going to get at it. Get the new ones in. So we used 150 grit sandpaper. We didn't want to use anything too rough. So, and we only cleaned it up slightly. Now this next part, gonna jinx myself, should be easy, and doing one at a time shouldn't be an issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull our caps off, and we're going to press them in on the outside. So make sure you don't mess up any of your needle bearings. And just pull them out nice, make sure they're stacked and they're good. It should be a pretty, just might as well pull them all off, because you're going to snake it. Man, that sucker is tight. Alright, so we're good there. I'm going to put this one in there like that. Might give it a little tap with the hammer, just to see if I could seat it a little bit. You guys aren't going to see this part. Okay. So that worked. And the only other thing is making sure your bearings are absolutely good. Try to work that to where it's going to be in both caps so you don't miss the bearings and then mess something up. A little resistance, but that's okay. Alright, she's pressed in evenly. So it honestly is probably going to be easier maybe with maybe using the hammer to get more of an impact on it. So we'll see. I'm going to put it on the concrete. Alright everyone, I apologize. My GoPro died, so I know you missed a little bit part of that. But what I'm going to tell you guys is I didn't use the vise. I ended up just going on the concrete here, making sure it's squared up good. Very key, making sure you're squared up good, making sure it's flush. And we got her squared in. Oops, it's a little dark on that side. A little brighter on this side, a little bit. And we got her flushed up real nice. We slid her in, make sure it goes all the way in and you're catching that gear inside. And we put our wheel bearing back on. Make sure you don't forget your dust shield, or you'll be pressing this sucker back off again. So we got it on there, and I think what we're going to do is give her some light taps with the hammer around here evenly. And yeah, you know, we might even, like, we can't do that. So yeah, we're just going to use our hammer and tap around here, get her to flush up a little bit better, and then we're going to clean our threads on our bolts, and we're going to bolt this thing back up again, and we should be good to go. And we should start bolting everything back together. I want to stress again, without making this video really long, if you're doing this, it's your everyday or something you really rely on, put new brakes on, do your rotors, do everything, you know, when you got it apart now. Do another side of the U-joint. It's not a bad practice to do that, but here's my look on that also, is if you replace, you say, alright, well you replace the left side, you should definitely do the right side, right? Well, you'd be correct. So the idea behind that is if you're replacing one U-joint, that would almost mean that you should replace all your U-joints on your vehicle, which would be the best practice if you're willing to do all that work. We are not. We are going to fix this side and keep running it, and I honestly think that's what I did on my other YJ. Not to jinx it or anything, but I haven't had a problem with any of my other U-joints on that Jeep yet. Just because they're all the same age, so sometimes things just fail, you know, and it doesn't mean that the other ones are going to fail right away, but this being almost a 30-year-old Jeep, it wouldn't be a bad thing to replace all your U-joints. So if it's something you're wheeling really hard, or it's your everydayer, I would probably say it would be best practice, as I say that, to replace everything. But if whether you're on a budget, you're just trying to make something work, you're trying to get back on the road, whatever it may be, I'm just replacing this side. I have more projects going on. If you guys watch any of my other videos or watch anything after this, you'll see we got plenty going on, and we still got a lot more to do. So that's why we're only fixing this side, because our biggest thing is just get this thing out of the garage, because we have plenty of other stuff to pull in and get ripping on. So we're going to get this all buttoned up. You guys know the process as far as how we take it apart. You put it back together the same way. I am still going to show you guys a little bit, but we're gonna blaze through this and we're gonna get it done. All right, everyone. So we finished our project here. We just got to put the wheel on, obviously. Everything went on really good. Make sure you have that shield on. Like I said, make sure, since you're already here, go on and grease your ball joints and, you know, make sure everything's good with all that stuff. We were able to reuse our cotter pin, which usually we just end up destroying those things. We actually got lucky, but make sure you put all this stuff on. We used just an impact to zip it on. Probably torque specs for that stuff, but it's a pretty large nut on a pretty good size shaft. So yeah, we used an impact, and it'll be good. And as far as your brake caliper stuff and all that, you know, you have your two little bolts back here. You know, we used a little hammer to press this back on just because it was, you know, giving us a little fuss. Nothing crazy, you know. So I appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope it helped you out, because it's exactly why I make these videos. I have more fun making our videos where we go on our trips and all that stuff, so make sure you check that stuff out. But I do like doing some of our projects in the garage. Hopefully it helps you guys out and just shows you guys a little bit what we got going on. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you later.